When I was in high school, I was getting ready to head out the door on Friday or Saturday night to go mess around with my friends or go to this or that party, whatever it was. And as I would go out the door each and every Friday or Saturday night, my dad had this phrase he said to me every time. He'd grab my arm, look me in the eye, and he'd say, "Hans, remember who you are. You are a doll," he would say. What was my dad saying? Well, of course, he was saying, "I know you will likely have opportunities to do some things and get into trouble that is not in your best interest. And so, before you do, remember who you are," he was saying. Remember what your values are. Remember, you are a part of our family. You are a doll, and we dolls are different. Folks, thanks for tuning in today. We're taking a look at what Paul had to say about living the good life in this Bible study. We're looking at 1 Corinthians, and today we're in chapter 6, verses 1 through 11. And in these first 11 verses of chapter 6, Paul is reminding those first readers of his letter in Corinth and us that to consider yourself a follower means you are different. You see, for Paul, following Jesus made you and makes me different. Paul believed in his heart of hearts that followers of Jesus, even that small and complicated community in Corinth, they were God's people. They were the ones God asked just one thing of, nothing else. Jesus asked them to love each other as God in Jesus first loved them. Jesus asked his followers to demonstrate in every relationship the love that he first demonstrated for us so that all the world would know the heart of God. We are the ones God has chosen to demonstrate to the world the very heart of God and who God is. So, you can imagine Paul's disappointment when he gets word that the Christians within the church in Corinth they've gotten into what seems to be a very public and heated disagreement. In fact, it appears as though one of the members of that church is taking another to court. Paul's vision of what a community of Jesus followers is, it just doesn't allow for this. The Christian community for Paul is called to be a model community of what it looks like to love as Jesus loved. In chapter 13, he'll give us a picture of what that love looks like. Love is patient, he'll say. Love is kind. It does not envy or boast. It is not proud. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Taking someone to court? For Paul, there's just no room for this kind of disagreement if you are a follower of Jesus. And here's why. When Christians behave in these ways, we tell the world that Jesus followers are really no different than everybody else. The problem for Paul is the message such behavior portrays to the rest of the world, especially to people who don't believe or who are yet to believe. Paul, just like my dad, is saying, remember who you are. Remember. You are a follower of Jesus, and we are different from everyone else. For Paul, if you aren't different, you might as well not bother calling yourself Christian in the first place. Remember, you followed Jesus, who told the rich young ruler to give up all his property and follow him. Remember, you followed Jesus, who invited that crooked tax collector Zacchaeus to do the same. For Paul, it's better to put up with being defrauded in order to follow Jesus, so that we show the world that there's a different way to be human. Folks, doesn't it seem that we're all just a little bit more easily angered these days than we were even just a few years back? We write inflammatory letters to the editor. We post nasty things on Facebook about everyone who doesn't vote the way I do. You avoid people. You talk behind their backs. Paul says, stop it. Not only are you acting childish, but you're sending a message to the world that followers of Jesus are no different than anyone else. And of all people, shouldn't we, Jesus' followers, be the ones known for loving the way Jesus loved, for things like patience and kindness, humility, forgiveness of all people, shouldn't we be known as the most generous? I got a couple questions for you before we wrap it up today. Do you agree with Paul that followers of Jesus should be known for being different from everyone else? And secondly, how are you easily angered these days and finding yourself tempted to respond, well, like everyone else does? Thanks for tuning in, gang.